Hello everyone, it's me, your average bonehead, Jay. I've always been interested in Christmas adjacent Christmas specials. You know what I'm talking about. The type of specials that technically have nothing to do with the holiday, but we label them as Christmas specials because they just so happen to take place during that time. And the one I want to talk about for today is the Transformers Animated Season 3 two-parter, Human Error. If you couldn't tell, I really like Transformers Animated. Our episode begins with Optimus Prime patrolling around Detroit on Christmas Eve, though he's a bit uneasy due to all the Soundwave toys being sold. Remember, in Animated's continuity, Soundwave is a synthetic Decepticon created by a combination of plans from Megatron and the Allspark, and he once tried to start a robot uprising. Now you're probably wondering why some corporate billionaire like Powell has no reservations of selling a toy of basically a known terrorist. Well, considering how his right-hand man is a registered Minecraft YouTuber, I don't think he's really above this. Anyways, Optimus thinks he sees one of the toy Soundwaves up to no good, but it turns out to just be nothing.
Okay. Maybe I just have Soundwave on the processor.
Or so it would seem. Back at base, we see all the Autobots, Bumblebee, Bulkhead, Prowl, Ratchet, and their human technorganic companion, Sari, getting ready for Christmas.
What do you think we got?
We can find out if we run him through Ratchet's X-ray scanner.
Only if you want to end up on Santa's naughty list. Put him back under the tree and come help me decorate.
Unfortunately for them, a Soundwave toy did get into their base and spiked their eggnog. So when the Autobots woke up the next day, they found themselves being
A human!
By the Allspark.
And I do find it funny that their human designs are loosely based off their voice actors. That's just clever. Ratchet is unable to come up with a logical explanation to why they're like this, but Prowl seems to take a liking to his new human form, being one with nature.
It's something I'd always imagined, even dreamt I'd experience, and yet something isn't quite right.
The Autobots come to the conclusion that their minds must have been transported into these organic bodies and need to figure out a way to get their robot forms back, so their first step is to head to Sumdac Tower for help. Meanwhile, back at Sumdac Tower, we see Sari opening gifts with her father Isaac.
Thanks, Dad. But I was kinda hoping for something with 4 wheels.
Girl, you are 13. Heck, a few months ago you were 8. So I don't know what you were expecting. But actually, this new scooter of hers is a jetpack, which is actually something they intended to give her way back when, but just never got around to it. Better late than ever, I always say. And Sari flies off to go show the Autobots. Back with the Autobots, they're trying to get used to their new human bodies with varying levels of success, but things get even worse when the Pride Parade comes to town. Yes, a full-scale Decepticon invasion, complete with Tom Kenny's Starscream.
Where did you go? I can't tell the difference between one insignificant human and the next.
The peak that is German Blitzwing.
Why would the Autobots choose to be human? Not for the fashion sense, I can tell you that!
And Megatron himself with his own magical girl transformation sequence. Now that's how you actually cleverly subvert the tropes. You should take notes. Meanwhile, Sari arrives to the Autobot base to find no one home.
Hello? Guys? Cute girl with jetpack is here.
Which, now you're probably wondering, wait, how did she not notice the actual end of the world when she was on her way there? Well, we get our answer almost immediately, as while exploring the empty base, she ends up seeing the Decepticon Condor, Laserbeak, as well as a bunch of sentient Soundwave toys. She ends up looking around deeper into the base to find that the Autobots haven't been turned into humans, they have been put into a simulation created and controlled by the Decepticon Soundwave.
Escape is impossible. Autobots inferior. Soundwave superior.
Who is trying to turn the Autobots into Decepticon drones. Sari tries fighting back, but is unsuccessful, so she has no choice but to retreat and try and get some help. But luckily, she did cause some damage to the computer that Soundwave was using, and the Autobots back in the simulation were not only able to figure out what was going on, but were able to lucid dream their way enough to not only beat the Decepticons in hilarious ways,
Not the presents!
but also return themselves back to their robot forms, though still in the simulation. But Prowl is able to free himself using the ancient technique of processor over matter. But unfortunately, he's unable to save the others in time, and Soundwave beats him and puts him back into the simulation, and turns them back into humans. And using his guitar, Ratbat, I like that in this show Laserbeak and Ratbat, instead of being cassettes, they're Soundwave's guitars, Soundwave manages to take control of not just the Autobots, but every human in Detroit. The Autobots try to break out of the simulation again by chasing down the digital version of Soundwave by using the actual vehicles of their usual vehicle modes.
This ain't so hard.
It's merely a matter of becoming one with the machine.
But all this does is lead them into a trap where their bodies are fully taken over by Soundwave. Meanwhile, back with Sari, she tries to get help from her dad, but unfortunately, like all the humans in Detroit, Isaac's mind is taken over by Soundwave and he tries to destroy Sari. But she ends up managing to stop him long enough to escape as she heads all the way off to Dinobot Island to maybe get some help from the Dinobots. Side little rant, I've never been fond of how this show handled the Dinobots. Rather than being helpful, Grimlock, Slag, and Sloop are more nuisances or just outright villains in this show. They never ever feel like Autobots. So of course Grimlock and Swoop refuse to help. But there is one other one she could get help from. But before she can find him, Sari ends up finding the Constructicon Scrapper, who has been washed up on this island for a while now, ever since an explosion separated him from his pal Mixmaster and their leader Dirt Boss. And it turns out in that time, Scrapper has befriended Slag and gave him a new name, Snarl.
Snarl! Come on, boy! Come on, Snarly!
Snarl? Who's Snarl? Whoa!
Okay, so back in the 80s, the Dinobot that turned into the Triceratops was named Slag, but since that's technically a UK insult and an in-universe insult, they changed his name to Slug, which I never liked because that sounds too much like the other Dinobot Sludge, and I sometimes find myself confusing the two, but in this show they have him named Snarl, which is also another Dinobot. So, for the time being, I'm just gonna call this guy Slag, okay? That was his name, that's the name I know him by, that's what I'm calling him. So, yes, turns out Scrapper tamed Slag, and the two of them are kind of buddies. And Sari enlists the two of them to help her fight Soundwave in exchange for helping the two of them get off the island. And on their way back to Detroit, they end up running into the Junkion Wreck-Gar, voiced by Weird Al Yankovic, who was at the bottom of the ocean. Wreck-Gar, not Weird Al.
You've got to be pulling my leg!
Okay, I've got to be pulling your leg! I am Wreck-Gar, the leg-pulling hero!
So with this team of Z-list temporary Autobots set up, Sari and the gang head off to go fight Soundwave. And they just suck at it. Not only do they have to take down Soundwave as well as Laserbeak and Ratbat, they also have to fight the Autobots. And yeah, it just does not go well for them at all. They all try different methods of attacking with little success. And while I'm here, I kinda wanna go on one more little side tangent, and that's Sari in Season 3. Yeah, Upgrade Sari kinda sucks. It's definitely an interesting development for her overall story, but as a development for her character and everything else about her, it's not really that good. This episode was her first appearance after a 4-episode absence, which doesn't sound like much, but remember there's only 13 episodes in a season, and it's kinda upsetting that her first and only Decepticon battle is one that she just flat out loses. Like, she doesn't even stand a chance in it, and that'd be fine if we at least got a follow-up to this, like let's say if she went with Optimus in Decepticon-Air as a way to try and redeem herself for her failure in this episode, and had to learn a lesson about dealing with failure. But ultimately, what happens here means nothing, and ultimately Sari's Technorganic upgrade kind of means nothing. In a way, it's like when Miko got the Apex armor in Transformers Prime, she beat Starscream with it, became an honorary wrecker, and then they never touched upon this again. But I find it's more annoying here because Sari lost to Soundwave, and then never fights a Decepticon again. They made such a big deal in the Season 3 opener about her having this new upgrade and all the power she now has with it, only for it to amount to her accidentally stabbing Bumblebee and partaking in the series' annual pissing on GoBots' grave. Which again is even funnier to me when you look back and remember that before her upgrade, Sari was able to hold her own against dangerous threats and even come out on top. Mostly at least. but when she's more powerful, she's weaker. On top of that, her personality also kind of took a hit. I'll get more in depth into this on a later date, but basically what you need to know is that Sari in season 3 kinda lost the spice of her character. No longer was she the kind of reckless, snarky, but ultimately well-meaning little scrungle that she was in the first 2 seasons, and here she kinda just became a plot device to solve problems, ironically just becoming her old Allspark key, and almost having the personality of it. It's very upsetting to see that happen to what was once a very entertaining character. As for this episode, I am still happy to say that she's still mostly in her old personality, as she has to learn about leadership, leading this Z-Team squad of Autobots. But still, as much as I love animated, and I love season 3, I feel like they could have done better with one of the series' supposedly most important characters. Basically, my point is that when people say Sari is the best human companion, they're usually talking about this version as opposed to this version. Anyways, back to the battle. Sari ends up figuring out that Soundwave can't control all the Autobots at once, so she has her team attack separately, which ends up actually working, as they're able to neutralize the other Autobots. So Soundwave devotes all his attention to controlling Optimus Prime, and he single-handedly manages to take out Slag, Scrapper, and Wreck-Gar. And right before he can finish off Sari, Prowl manages to break free using Processor over Matter, and stops Optimus just in time.
You big faker! Ha! I knew something was up!
I wasn't just faking. It took a great deal of processor over matter to resist Soundwave's control.
So now with Optimus back, he and Soundwave have a little scuffle, leading to Optimus grabbing Laserbeak and aura farming by turning him into his guitar mode, and he and Soundwave have a one-on-one Devil Went Down to Georgia-esque music battle. Resulting in Optimus just saying screw it and bashing Laserbeak over Soundwave, destroying him and basically killing Ratbat in the process, resulting in Soundwave's mind control to be disrupted and everything going back to normal, leaving Soundwave in his tiny cassette player mode.
It's supposed to be a silent night.
And I'm sure this will all lead to something greater in the future, most likely in Season 4. Right? So with everything back to normal, Pal-El was financially ruined, good. Slag and Scrapper head back to Dinobot Island, Sari reunites with her dad, her and the Autobots share a last-minute Christmas-related life lesson, and the episode ends with Wreck-Gar as Santa Claus giving out garbage to all the good little boys and girls of Detroit.
Ho ho ho! Merry Christmas! Garbage for all the good little children!
As the episode ends on that note. Man, this episode had almost nothing to do with Christmas, but I guess that was the point. It just wanted to be a fun episode. And a fun episode it is. The Christmas theming is mostly tacked on, as Soundwave mind controlling all of Detroit has nothing to do with the holiday. It would have been funny if he was doing it to steal Christmas. Now that's a special I would have loved to watch. Though most of us could probably agree it should be done with Starscream. But overall, Human Error is just a fun episode. It was novel seeing the Autobots as humans, and it was nice for Season 3 Sari to actually get a semi-starring role. Even if, once again, it still isn't really her best in this show. But it's better than what ends up happening with her later on, so I can look past that. I also love the absolute blunt rotation that is her team, and all their personalities, especially Wreck-Gar, were just an absolute blast to watch. And of course, Soundwave is a great villain. This show is definitely an interesting take on him, but in this show, despite his sparse appearances, I absolutely adore him. The brief battle with the other Decepticons was also great, even if Lugnut was not allowed to say a line, and just overall, this is just a very fun two-parter. I highly recommend them. Whether it be around the holiday season or not, Human Error is always going to be a fun watch, though it is marginally enhanced when you watch it around Christmas time. But then again, it's not like anything from Transformers Animated really needs a holiday to make it marginally enhanced when it is possibly the best Transformers show, which again is something I'll go more in depth to on a later date. But for now, I'm your average bonehead Jay, and I wish you a Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Oh, you're still here? Well, since you stuck around for this long, you might as well like and subscribe, comment if you're feeling really daring. And while you're at it, you might as well follow me on Twitter and Instagram at jayskeletyn, links down below. And if you just want to see more, you can check out the playlists or look at my last video. Now, thanks for watching, and if you need me, I'm going back to bed.